So I did. Who else have we got here? Excellent, excellent. You know, when you want like a really huge screen, that's I've signed up for a program where Tony Robbins has created this 40-foot 360 screen, and you can see 3,000 people at once. I don't quite want that, but I want to figure out how to do that, because these little screens don't quite do it for me. So how are we doing time-wise? 8:01. I need to just check. Dawn, I'm going to ask you a question. So you're going to get a thing to say to unmute yourself. You've got to click something, because I'm asking you to unmute, and I think you've got to. Yeah. There we go. Hello, Dawn.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good. So, Dawn, I was looking at the footage from Sheffield the other day, and you running up and down the stairs after doing some scary stuff and not having done that before. How are you doing now?
I'm doing good, as long as I keep activating myself.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, there have been periods in the last few months, as with everybody, where I maybe lost my point of focus a little bit and stopped activating for some stupid reason.
Oh, we all do that. It's called getting distracted.
And yeah, wondered why I was hurting again or unable to do something, but yeah, quickly pulled myself back together and started getting on with it again, and yeah, feel good. Yeah, doing well.
Well, I think, you know, just as a context for everyone, with anyone, like when your client says, you know, but must I keep doing this? Well, yes, especially if this is something you've had almost your entire life as a pattern. We've almost got to counterbalance that. And sometimes it can be a huge and dramatic thing that we have to do in order to do that. Or we can just create such a powerful habit that eventually you just notice that, you know, the pain just doesn't come back. And so as long as we find a way to manage and work it, then all is good. But I'm glad to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I'm going to mute you. Thanks, Dawn.
Okay, no problem.
So I want to. So we have 24 people in at the moment. Katie, Ben, Nia. This is great. This is nice to see everyone tonight. Of course, you are highly curious about these master points. I have no idea what they are either, of course, but we'll see what we can figure out. And Bev sent me a message frantically saying, heck, I'm working. I'm going to be running back to my apartment. I'll join as soon as I can. So we'll see when she pops in. I hope you're all well. You know, I think we're beyond it's strange times. The strange has become our new normal, and really what it is about what we're going to do with it. And I hope you guys are like, I went looking for the post that created this, and that was from Ben. And I'm actually, in case you didn't see it, I will start this by reading it out and see why this has got our conversation started. But it is amazing how you guys are online, you guys are talking, you guys are sharing, and that for me is the thing. It's hearing my voice over and over gets boring, but hearing your voices and your stories is awesome and powerful. So let me just see if I'm missing anything. So we're on 28. I think we will just start. What do you think? You're good to start? And as people rock up, they will rock up. So let's put somebody on the spot. Hey, Melissa. Hi, Melissa.
Hello.
Master points. Come on, what could that be?
I would assume that when you get really good at it, you can see when we walk into a room, you know what we need because you've done it so long. So is that the master point? To me, I would always do zone 1 and breathing because to me, that's so many people can't do that and they unravel almost straight away.
Well, I think what's important there, if we almost step away from what the master point is that if you don't do the breathing in zone 1, if you release something which is held on so tightly, you've not put something in its place to prepare the body. So it's almost you take something away, but you don't give it something in return. So we always want to have zone 1 ready and prepared, because otherwise we create too much risk. And the thing is that, you'll see it a lot. It's not a knock particularly of anything, but like we see people cleverly going, oh, I'm going to unlock this fascia. And they unlock something without asking the question, why did the body lock that up in the first place? And the body locked that up in the first place in order to help the system survive. And so the doing the zone 1 and the breathing is absolutely pivotal. But those master points are not going to be about shortcutting.
Yeah, you see, that was the thing. I got that's the people were thinking, oh, we can hack straight in. Yeah. Is a master point to me. So if we're not hacking, the master point is when we get that real that's the key, where we've gone all through and there was one point.
What would we call that when someone goes
it's just a massive release of some form of just what they're holding on to.
And but we have a term for that. Sarah, you were doing something like this that looked a heck of a lot like big stairs. Which is exactly what it is. So that's the dropping down the staircase. And so that's when they take the big autonomic drop.
Yeah.
And so spot on. That really is what we want to talk about, because it's that point somewhere in the system that in that particular individual is the one that breaks them through and creates the big drop down the staircase.
So I notice some of my clients, they go, oh, I've got to work through this. And I'm like, no, you need to just throw yourself around because they're holding on, going, oh, and it's not, they're not letting the drop, are they? They're just
but we can understand that, because everything that we've set up is because it's a defense and survival strategy. Yeah. And you've learnt a way of survival, and suddenly someone's coming along with a finger or a thumb and touching something, and basically it's threatening your strategy that you've created that's got you to this point. It might be in a pretty crappy way. You might be falling to pieces and begging someone to save you from the pain and the dysfunction or the stress. But at the same time, we don't want to let go, because it's all we know.
Yeah.
And so that becomes cool, because that's about creating the space for them to get it out. Hey, if you need to scream, if you need to cry, if you need to laugh, whatever. And so it's opening that space to allow them to experience something different. And the minute the neural system finds that different, it goes, hey, wow, that's awesome. I like that one better. And so that's why it's always so important that we measure things and we compare things. So we give the brain and the neural system something to compare it to. And that's a big thing, because too often I see conversations coming up, and you'll see I don't engage them. Oh, this is just rubbing points. This is just neurolymphatics. This is just this. No, we're dealing with the neural system, and we are giving it a moment to reflect on itself, to see if the strategy it's choosing is the right one, and if it's the best one that we can have. And so when we have the before and the after, it can kind of go, ooh, that was different. I like that one more. You know, so you actually have some choice. So you get to choose which mask do you want to wear today, you know, that kind of thing.
Can I just add, I've got an old client that I stopped seeing because he was wanting too much, but he needed more help. So I've made him pay more. But yeah.
So you were learning well.
And then he said, can I have a discount? And I went, am I not worth it? And he went, yeah, because he couldn't find someone. I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet, but I had my own way of doing stuff with him.
Yeah.
So I do zone 1 with him. He's got CP and he's really bad. So I can't really.
What is CP?
Cerebral palsy. He's got cerebral palsy. Sorry, everyone.
No, that's fine. But just purely because if someone's, and this is important because we always bring this up, if someone is listening and doesn't know what CP is, the rest of what we're saying might get lost. Now that might mean only I didn't understand, and that's fine. But now I do.
Okay, so I have to lift him on.
CP is he?
So I have to lift him on the bed. He has to use sticks to mobilise. So he's really thick through his neck, thick through his chest. And I noticed, because I'm really into doing zone 1 if I can't do anything else with anyone or they want massage. So that he breathed back to front. Nice. So when I was doing it, obviously he finds it very painful. So as I've learned through over the years that I allow to step back and wait, because obviously he's in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And he breathes the right way. Dropping, and he instantly breathes the right way. So I've only done him twice in 2 weeks and he feels a lot better already. So, but I can't test him. Does that make sense? I can't really do any test of before and after. I can only do before and after with moving his legs around after I've done some intervention and when he gets off the table.
Yeah, but the thing is that if one's aware of what he's doing before he gets on the table and then when he gets off, that's still a measure. Yeah. And so it's a feedback loop that we have to have. And but without it, what happens is, you know, someone gets on the table, they're disconnected from their system. So they're unaware of what's not right or what, you know, then we do a whole lot of magic. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, it hurts. Oh, what's that? Why am I fighting you? Oh, that's not nice. Hey, get off. How do you feel? Compared to what? And so most people are so stuck in their realm of survival that they actually can't connect with where they are. You know, it's, you know, you guys know that I really like using surfing as my references because, and 3 days ago, I slipped as the backwash hit me, and it just triggered a little lockdown in my body from my head-on collision from way back in 1996. And the next day, my body had seriously locked up. And it was like, whoa, what's going on? You know, and so it's only when you stop and you take a check-in with what's going, hey, wow, I'm trying to breathe, but my body doesn't want to. I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. And ironically, what I had to do was I had to find my master point, which I discovered ages ago to overcome my head-on collision, but it hasn't come up since. But a particular environment and a particular stimulus created a similar thing, and my body locked up, and that's exactly what I was like after my head-on collision. And you know, this is 1996, so it's a heck of a long time ago. But the body remembers, and so what was amazing and what is so beautiful about the body, and what I love is that I still get to experience this, is find the right thing, and suddenly my body's like going, whoa, and I'm driving while doing this. Whoa, look, I can move. Wow, hey, I can rotate. Whoa, I can breathe. And what had happened and how I tie in with surfing is the day after that, I still went surfing, and I went to a beautiful place called Noordhoek. And it's quite a long walk, probably let's call it 500 meters to get to the waves. The waves I would have rated as a 5 out of 10. When I surfed, my surfing itself for me was about a 7 out of 10. But I got out after 7 waves, after about 45 minutes, because I pulled off a wave which I should have been what surfers called stoked. I should have been what Norman would have called the high, the rush. I should have pulled off that wave and just high-fived myself. And I pulled off the wave and I went, blah. Nothing. Disconnect. See, back to head-on collision. That was the survival strategy my body chose. And so it numbed and disconnected my system. So something that I do with, it's my passion, but it's because the ocean tells me, it gives me information all the time. Where are you? And I pulled off this wave and I was like, nothing. So I'm not going to paddle out again. I'm going to walk up the beach and go, huh, that's another piece of information that I now have to put into the puzzle to figure out why my body's doing what it's doing, because I hadn't figured it out yet. And so each bit of information, you know, so had I been your client and you'd said, so Doug, you're a surfer, when last did you surf? Oh, I went surfing this morning. Oh, well, he can surf. How was your surf? Well, I surfed well. But the kind of question I would never ask is, you know, how did it feel? Like, but my feel was maybe a 2 out of 10. It was numb and disconnected. It was like I was watching myself surf, but I wasn't feeling it. And you go, wow, the body's amazing. Cool, thanks, Melissa. I'm just going to check in with Norman because he is the, you know, the king of crazy experiences, not me. Hey, Norman. You're going to see a button that says, please unmute yourself.
There we go. Hey,
Hi,
how
good
are you?
evening, good sir.
Good evening to you.
Tell these fine folk about adrenaline.
I have to say it's a past tense conversation these days, but we may get to that. It's a feeling that I think is probably the only real feeling I've ever had in my life that's truly addictive in its purest form, and it's that sort of that crazy mad mix of outright abject fear coupled with I want more. Give me more of it. And yeah, I look back at some of the stuff I did and think the element of risk that was in it was just ludicrous. And you know, I rode my luck, as it were, and I got away with it because I'm still here. And I think of some of the nutty stuff that I did, particularly when I was younger. You know,
just give us one example. I know your examples, but a lot of people have no idea what you're talking about. Because you look like quite a nice guy.
Most recent crazy one, I guess, was swimming the rapids in Canada. Because they were like grade 5 rapids, they were big. Before that, jumping off a 30-foot rock in the Dordogne without really knowing how deep the water was underneath it.
Yeah, I've got a 22-meter jump. I've got photographic proof of. Come on.
But I had no idea what that water could have been 2 foot deep.
Oh, okay.
I had no idea how deep it was. Yeah, just stupid. Just jumped and kind of trusted that it would all be okay, you know.
So you understand what he's saying is sometimes when the body gets so overwhelmed and numbed out and disconnected, the only way to feel is extremes. So anything ordinary is boring, and so it's that go big or go home. It's all in or nothing. And so you go, oh wow, he's this adrenaline junkie, got to do this, got to do that. Wow, he actually has to do it, because if he's not doing that, he doesn't feel alive, and that's worse. And so why we're talking to Norman, and what's so important about Norman is Norman's master point was one little point over here. Remember this finger, Norman?
Oh man.
And it required, what's really important if you weren't there, is it required a heck of a lot of strategy. because we had him on the table for diaphragm, simple diaphragm. But what I did is I got him ready. So we did the testing, and then I was like, okay, let's go. So I allowed his adrenal response to kick in. So he's like,
Oh,
yeah,
good.
come on, bring it.
Put me on the
Yeah.
ceiling, man.
And then I just continued talking for 10 minutes, as I do, and didn't touch him. And I waited for all his adrenal response and all his, come on! It took 10 minutes because that was his strategy in his life, and he was damn good at it. And by that stage, now Bev's arrived, and now he was ready for access. And literally, it was a finger barely touching his sternum. And for anyone who was in the room, it was quite a profound experience and profound thing to be part of. And
it's the most extraordinary thing I think I've ever experienced, and I still can't find the words or the language to explain it. It was this sort of cataclysmic, mad, crazy mix of all sorts of emotions and feelings, and it truly left me bewildered for weeks and weeks and weeks afterwards. And to a certain extent, to be honest, Doug, I'm still a little bit bewildered by it all. I'm bewildered by the change that I now have, and the sort of almost coming to the realization now that I sort of wore this facade, this jacket of what I was, and I can now look back and go, I didn't have a clue who I was up until February this year. I have a little bit more idea. I still don't really have any idea to steal Bev's. I still really don't have any idea, but I have a tiny, tiny little bit more idea of who I am than I did before. And yeah, that sort of it's a bewildering experience for sure.
yeah,
When you're that heavily into adrenaline, it really is a bewildering experience to suddenly.
Well,
Yeah.
you see, in your world, you are talking in that heavily into adrenaline. But if I take it back to almost any of us, we're that into our survival strategy. Yours just happened to be adrenaline.
Yeah.
And somebody else can be something else. And so what's really important here is, as we get better at this, we start to realize, hey, Bev, we start to realize how the body is driving our behavior. So nothing is random, you know, and so it is the hardest thing to pin down and say, hey, did you know when someone's doing this? It's actually always through the filter of survival at whatever level, fight, flight, or freeze. And somewhere in your system and somewhere in my system, there's probably one point that subconsciously I will defend more than any other. In fact, I'll have to kill you, or I'll run so damn fast you'll never catch me, or I will freeze so still you won't even know I'm there. So there's all strategies of protecting something within our system. But it's so well developed and it's so well hidden that we don't know that we don't know. So that's our intro for tonight. And what I was going to do, I hope you can see this, I was going to read a story. But instead, since Ben is sitting in the room, we're going to have to ask him himself. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Doug, how you going?
Yeah, very good. You know that this is your fault. You throw out these big words, you create curiosity, you create questions.
I didn't mean to, actually. I didn't realize everyone would think they didn't know something about master points.
No, but see what's beautiful about that is this is how teaching works. Throw something out. So you've become a great teacher because you've thrown something out that people, oh my God, I don't know what that is. Do you know how many stressed people there are because they can't make it tonight? Oh, please tell me you're going to record this. Please, I have to know because I can't cancel. So you're in sales. You've created urgency. You've created, all of this. And we were doing a webinar, and it was actually Luke who was talking about him and his partner when they work on each other and take care, like every now and they okay, I'll activate you, you activate me, cool. So sometimes they'll do the full activation, but when they don't have time, they will do zone 1 and the master points. And it was beautiful because it was just a throwaway. And I watched everyone go, that. And next minute, I'm like, there's Ben going, here's my story about master points. I'm like, oh, crap. but
it was just a small comment.
But it was a beautiful story. And I'd rather you share it with everyone because I can read your story, but that won't do it justice.
Okay, well, so 4 years ago, as I said, I received some medical treatment, and little did I know at that time it was going to trigger a sort of cascade of psychologically and physiologically challenging events for me. So that was, the biggest of all that was probably the chronic fatigue that I had. That's still with me today. It's probably significantly improved the past year or so. But it's still very much with me. And anyway, so Luke brought that up. It really was just a throwaway comment, but it really got me thinking, and I didn't realize it would get everybody else thinking as well. But it really, really got me thinking.
They're not thinking, they just want to know what it is. They're not thinking.
Yeah. Well, the thought I had with it was, just from what he said, that it was just going to be an individual, unique point that differs between every person. That, for me, led me to thinking about trauma, and that was what made most sense to me, that it would be a spot of trauma. I couldn't really think of any other reason the body would, one point could shut down the rest of the body. So,
but you can see now how if you're somewhere in your brain, it decided that this area, whether it is left or right, this is so vulnerable, we have to do absolutely everything to keep the world away from it because we have been traumatized and poisoned and blah, 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 blah. And we don't want any more. And so how are we going to do that? Hey, well, let's just disconnect him. He's alive. Isn't our strategy just survival? And you're still here. Quality of life, no, not important. Because we're about survival. So we're in the wrong part of ourselves that's going, but where's the healing? Where's the overcoming? Where's the learning? None, because we just shut you down to survive.
Exactly. And I part of it, I'm very thankful for you as well, Doug. And this method is, no one else could have I don't know of anyone else that could have told me this. I've been to see, I don't know how many healthcare professionals in the past 4 years, but it's been a long journey for me. But what's come to is this, and understanding myself and understanding how my trauma has had that effect on my body of disconnect and shutting down, and it's decreasing my quality of life just to keep me alive. And no one else could have told me that. So I'm really grateful I found this, actually. And
but you know what's also cool about this? I want to jump in because actually nobody told you. So what we did is we created a framework. We created the Be Activated with the 1, 2, 3 to understand the body, and we created a series of tools to overcome the limitations of the body. But it wasn't, we did a webinar and it was like, hey Ben, this is what you need to look at. It was you going, there's something in this, seems to work for all my clients, assholes, but not me. That's why they're assholes, not for any other reason. But it's when someone does give a throwaway comment. It's almost, and I find with my clients, when I teach, it's the throwaway stuff. It's the stuff that seems so insignificant, is where somebody tells you, everything, and they just open the door and say, here you go, what do you want? But when you get too caught up in listening just to the words, you miss it. But it puts you into a different place. Hey, that's interesting. Master points. I wonder if I have one. And then your brain goes, oh, I wonder if I do. And then it goes looking for an answer. You know, and then it starts throwing out different things. And so what it does, it makes you almost the perfect client now, because you are seeking your answers because the framework has allowed you to ask the right question.
That's actually interesting. That's what I thought in the moment, actually. That same thing was, I just needed to find the right question, and I found the right question, and suddenly the answer just came to me. Like that, I just had the question, or do I have that? And then instantly, left shoulder, boom. It was just straight there. So absolutely.
And when you ask the right question, the answer comes that easily. It seems so ridiculously obvious, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, I don't know why I didn't think this out ages ago.
No. And so here's one of the things you may have experienced since you got it. You might have had a few days where you're going, am I that friggin' stupid? How could I have missed it? Have you had that one yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I've had that a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. But you guys understand why this is important, because it seems so obvious, but it's not. It's anything that falls within the realm of what you don't know that you don't know. And so if I can figure out what Ben doesn't know that he doesn't know, I can stand up and say, I could have said, hey, Ben, your left shoulder's doing this. And he would have stared blankly back going, oh, okay, sure, Doug. Because you don't know that you don't know. And so when we try and tell our clients, this is the problem, this is what we need to do, you're in control of the session. You're not facilitating it, you're controlling it. Facilitating is getting them curious, getting them asking questions. Not everyone's good, like not all our clients are wanting to do that. So sometimes it's hard work. But when you get them connecting the dots, that's when your job gets so much easier. But that's when you get better information to guide them to a better place. And then you will find places like that. So now you work on your deltoid, your system kicks in, like someone actually turns the lights on.
Yeah,
and what is, because you see, I'm curious, because you said, yeah, my chronic fatigue's been better in the last year, but you didn't distinguish between the last year and the last week. So I'm curious, did your system switch on to 1, 2, 3, and then the minute you typed out this lovely thing that created tonight, it all shut down?
I've had an interesting, so how long's it been? Probably maybe 2 weeks. I have started feeling things in the past 2 weeks that I thought were resolved within the past year. I think what may have happened is stuff has started to become uncovered. For example, I started to, part of the sort of muscle pain, I'd also be getting some pretty bad back pain. And I haven't had back pain in ages, but since I've been doing this, I've started to actually get some back pain again.
Good.
And I've started feeling tiredness that I hadn't felt in a while. And
so now your body actually recognizes it's exhausted, whereas before it was just exhausted.
Yeah, so it's had, I guess, the good and the bad. So I haven't, I took a video of myself doing it. So yeah, straight away, come on. I don't retest. I haven't retested in any sort of considerable time afterwards. So like 5 or minutes or an hour, which might be a good idea. But maybe my body is now able to, or in a better state to deal with whatever is going on, and things are being brought up that I thought were resolved, such as the back pain.
Cool.
Perhaps it's now, and I don't feel it right now. Maybe it was just a moment thing. on that over that just couple of days maybe.
When you were massaging your deltoid, he says his right one, not his left one, just so I know that I know. Just in case people watch these things and put comments. So I'm just saying I know that I know. It's because I have this hand as my computer controlling hand. Did you or your wife massage the deltoid, have the system shift? Did you do it through a breath? Oh, good God, that was scary, and then retest and it was good?
What tends to happen as we're massaging my deltoid, if I do it, it's a good idea. I was so excited when I did it, I actually forgot about my breathing. Because do you think it's possible that you've still forgotten the breathing? Yes.
Do you think it's possible that you get so excited in the story that you're telling that you step out again, because that's your strategy, to tell the story, and you don't do your breathing? Because I ain't seen you breathe once. I'm just telling you, you are being watched. And second, when you're working with your clients from this amazing new space that you can now access, the 1, 2, 3, you probably haven't thought about, hey, am I engaging zone 1 at all while I'm working? Which would change entirely how you feel, what you feel, and how much information they give you through your fingertips.
You're absolutely right about the breathing.
You look like a naughty schoolboy now. This is great.
I don't know, part of me, so what I told, I guess, the group, I think prior to that, I think there's probably 2 people that knew about what was going on with me the past 4 years, who actually sort of really knew. And even talking about it, it's just sort of, there's so much that just wants to sort of just block it up and I'm sort of fighting myself to actually get this out.
We can see that right now. Can we do something right here, right now? Could you stand up?
Yeah.
Okay, so now that you're standing, what you're going to do is a ninja butt squeeze. That means you're going the trick here is it's a ninja butt squeeze. Nobody must know you're doing it.
No.
And if you smile too much, we know. Okay, now why this is important, guys, is I'm asking him to find his zone 1 while he's standing. Okay? I'm not even going to ask you to breathe. Okay? Did anybody notice something shift in his face? Okay, just do a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or actually I wasn't really watching. Okay, so, and it might be, yeah, maybe. So Ben, so before this sharing on Facebook, only 2 people knew.
2 people probably, knew.
Okay, what did they know?
In real sense, yeah.
What did they know?
They knew that I struggled to get out of bed in the morning. So I got my wife and my sister. I'm just going to
stop you now because that's perfect. Did you guys notice something different? He's squeezing his butt and he's talking about something that a moment before you were getting quite stressed out, and now you look quite matter of fact. Don't know if you noticed that.
No, I didn't notice.
Okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to turn your hips inwards. So like turn your butt off now, right? As you stand. Now, so you struggle to get out of bed in the morning. And what else?
Things like having a shower and getting out of the shower, drying my head over.
Tell me I'm not the only one with the amazing computer that can see the changes in his face. Can you see it? Yes? Your face is going along, almost gaunt. You look very Harry Potterish suddenly. Whereas a second ago, squeeze your butt now, stand up straight. Okay, is it my imagination? Yeah? Okay, so you guys are seeing this. This is on a flipping screen. And he's like, yay big, because I've got whatever it's called. I've got everyone on the screen. So your shower, what happened in the shower?
So getting out things like drying my head with my towel over my head,
You hear it?
lifting. Yeah,
But
lifting
can
any
you
sort of
hear how
overhead
his
activity.
speech is different? And so here's the beautiful thing. You've made an amazing breakthrough. You did that.
Mm.
You found the right question. And now what we've got to do. So it's when you find the right thing, now is the time we start coaching. Now is the time we say, that's awesome. How do we get your system to keep doing it? So your ninja butt squeeze is going to be your new best friend. Because when you're working with your client and you remind yourself about where your butt is, you'll suddenly go, holy crap, I really can feel with these hands. You know, people said I was pretty good before. Frig, I know so much because there is so much information in the tissue. But if your system's been shut down, you're getting 10% of the information. Wait till you get 20%. What are you going to do with
Didn't know
that?
what I was missing out on. Yeah.
Aha! You see, I didn't even sell him 100 because that's ridiculous. But the better you can now maintain your system. So what we're doing is, that's amazing. You found a point and you've generated a whole movement. We're here tonight because of you. And I think that's awesome. But our job is also to help you hold this and get further along. Here's an interesting thought. I'm not going to get you to do it now, but this is something, if you want to, you can feed back to the group later. But do it in standing, almost butt on and butt off. So not wax on, wax off, butt on, butt off. Where you ask your wife, grab my shoulder. One with your butt tight and one with your butt not tight. And see if it feels different.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. It's interesting when my
Yeah.
when my wife does it, actually. When I do it to myself, I don't necessarily get the same sort of emotional reaction, but it gets to the point where if she's probably after about 30 seconds of doing it, like it's my wife, but I just get this huge just get back, get away from me, and it's just a system overload.
Cool.
So it'd be
Well,
very
it'd be interesting to see if you can take it from 30 seconds to 1 minute.
Yeah.
Just with a butt squeeze. Because the butt squeeze is basically saying, hey, here's my zone 1. I'm okay. Because it's the container. So your psoas is initiating movement and driving movement. But your glutes are really containing the system. So whenever we have someone in trauma, if they're having too much emotion, too much scary, you know, it's when one works with drug addicts, sometimes huge responses get kicked in, and it's scary. Like heroin addicts, they're the scariest. And we've learned to go in and get the glute points, because then you don't have to say squeeze your butt, because they just want to take your head off. Get the glutes, and then suddenly someone's like, they go, whoa, geez, wow. The one guy I remember, he was an ex-cage fighter, and he was a Pilates trainer now, but he forgot to mention the heroin and his psoas kicked a whole thing, and I literally had to jump over and pin him. And if I'd got it wrong, we would not be having this conversation, because he was hardcore. But it was immediate, because his glutes contained his chaos. Wouldn't that be nice?
Mm.
You know, we are going to do I told you, I've been saying to the world, you know, I'm now doing stuff with Tim, who's helping me with the social media, and Bev's doing a heck of a lot as well to help guide. But you know, everyone goes, yeah, you must breathe. Yes. There are 100 people telling, you know, you tell your clients, it's like telling them not to smoke. They know. They're still going to do it or not do it. But what happens if we add something else, like a ninja butt squeeze? And it makes a difference, because it suddenly tells your system, I'm actually strong enough. I'm safe. It's okay. And then you can go into that scary place, maybe 30 seconds to 1 minute. If you can do 1 minute, why not 2 minutes? And then eventually you notice, actually, it makes no difference. So then you go and you find a stranger. Actually, go find a bouncer. And you say, hey, dude, come squeeze this for me. Yeah, whatever. You're increasing the range of threat, if you like, or maybe you actually go to a doctor. That's far more scary. In your world, in your story, because I'm not judging doctors.
Absolutely.
It's the, in your world, if they're doing a whole lot of stuff, they are the trauma.
I've thought about probably the scariest thing I could do would be go get some sort of, which I think would be great for it, some sort of acupuncture or dry needling in that spot, just because it'll be a needle.
Where in Australia are you?
Brisbane.
Oh, that's too far. But you're not in Melbourne. I just asked Carl to do it because he doesn't know how to do it, but he'll do it.
Sure.
It would be even more fun. Never done this before. Let's jab with needles. Can you guys see? You know, we've gone from a master point and understanding, and how Ben kind of realized that actually the answer is often quite obvious. But once we know, we also leave the body exposed, and it's like, whoa, what am I doing? But if you can create a greater integrity in the system, it will help process more effectively. It will process faster. It'll go, oh, there's that back pain. Cool, done. I don't need you anymore. And so it's kind of the way I see it is you've traveled a road to get to where you are in that moment. And it's taken you further and further away from yourself or your health and, you know, into a place of dysfunction. Then you have your aha moment, you reconnect your system and you start tracking back along that road. And sometimes you hit something like back pain and you go, oh, I know you, and now you get stuck in it. And other times you just walk straight past it. And we don't know what's going to happen, but all of those things are okay too. So all of those things, so remember, we coaching our clients. Hey, that's okay. So you recognize this, cool. Now it's time to do the work.
Absolutely. And one actual, I didn't mention it before, one other thing that's really changed is my beliefs about that shoulder. I don't know where this came from, but I had this visual image I realized of that shoulder, and it was part of the reason to stay away from it was because the thought I had of it was that if you pictured a cadaver and you pictured you looked at the deltoid and it's this long and stringy sort of tendons, and then picture somebody plucking those tendons. They're really pulled tight and someone's plucking them. For some reason, that's the image I had of my left shoulder. And that's being resolved as well. That's something I'm able to, be able to walk past now, and which is huge if I don't think my shoulder's is dead and being plucked. You know, yeah.
It's quite an amazing thing. So I'll give you an odd one, just because so far we've stayed within, we've colored within the lines so far, haven't we, folks? We've done well. We've looked at other areas, but we haven't gone too crazy, right? So Jess is a physical therapist, not a physiotherapist, because she's in the States, and she's been doing this pretty much long before she even was studying, and with her dad and the whole Genoda family. And she had an amazing case of a lady with an amputated arm after trauma, who was a 3-3-3 arm. So right arm gone, left leg 3-3-3 arm. She could only hold her psoas when she imagined herself making a fist with the arm that did not exist. Okay, whose head's hurting now? Because even me saying that, even though I think it's a hilarious story and it makes so much sense, touch your head if it's hurting, because mine is. But this is how beautiful the stuff is. We don't know what we don't know. And I guarantee you, the world really is not clever these days. We're far stupider and more disconnected than ever before. So there's probably a whole lot of stuff we're so far from. And if you can go, okay, cool, that's really exciting. Well, then it's okay not to know. You know, it's like, and be wrong and go, oh crap, I tried this, didn't work. I wonder what else I could try. I wonder what is a better question to ask. You know, because for any of you who I've taught, somewhere along the line in a lot of workshops, I say, my goal is not to give you the answers. My goal is to have you ask better questions, because you already have the answers, and so do your clients. but those answers only come, it's only a good Google search if you put the right term in. If you put the wrong search parameters in, although now we know that it's slightly biased, but so apparently you've got to go to DuckDuckGo or something like that. Non-biased search engine, just something like that, DuckDuckGo, I think. But it's like, you ask good questions, you get good answers. Simple. And so how do we ask better questions? How do we get our clients asking better questions or looking at things? And that's when they suddenly go, oh, wow, I've been to 10 therapists, but nobody's ever asked this. Do you think this is important? And there's that piece of information that guides you straight to something, and you go, wow, let's take a quick look at that. And then maybe that's the point where they go, and that's this huge dropping down the staircase, and it's like the whole system reboots. You know, someone a few years ago, many years ago, described it as, for her, the experience of that was as though she'd been held underwater her whole life, and that was her fighting to come up for breath, and that was her first breath. What a beautiful image, because you can see that. It's like, but you don't know where you are in your physiology, and I actually don't know where I'm in my physiology, because it's all what we don't know that we don't know. Cool, Linda, we actually are going to record this, apparently. Not where we'll put it out anyway, but we will record it. But it's like, this is the cool thing about the body, that it's like, look at these insights. You know, this is why I can never tell you be activated is this. Why? Because I want better questions, guys. And sometimes it's you ask me a question and I sit there and go, wow, that's a really good question. I've never thought of that one. And now I've got to take all the knowledge that I have, and I've got to shift it and refocus it and almost refile it to come out with something that makes sense. And that's how we progress in this work. We get better information, better data, process it better to come out with a better answer. And usually that means a simpler, more straightforward answer. And when you know, as you go into your shoulder then, your whole system goes, obviously, you know, and you're like, oh, right, it is. But up until that point, it wasn't. Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to mute you, but thank you. And really, thank you for sharing, because your sharing then allows a great conversation like this, because that's really what it is. It's not, I'm not standing here going, okay, master points are blah, blah, blah. It's a point in your system. For those of you who've done level 2, when we go visual field, we're actually looking for one point that it belongs to your visual field, which is where it shuts down. One point. We run the whole sequence until we find that point. And sometimes it's a diaphragm point. It's the very first point you touch. And other times you've run the whole thing. Hell, I know someone who isn't here, but will be watching this tomorrow, who couldn't ever quite get his visual field to go. And we found when he visited Australia and did some sessions, that actually it was the energy sweep. And he hated it. Now he loves it. But it was a no-touch energy sweep, which is what we teach. Everyone on level 1 knows this. But that was his visual field. And yet subconsciously, he would tell you, oh, no, that's the one I don't do with my clients. I don't like it. I'm not comfortable with it. Of course not. Because your system is going, whoa, that's scary, because I may have to do something different. And I've been this way my whole life. And now I might have to do it differently. So these are all the beautiful things you're up against, you know, and yet what an amazing puzzle and what an amazing journey that we get to play with. And play is a very powerful place, because it means you don't have a set outcome that you're aiming for. You get to, and that's why kids are like deadly, because they can ask crazy questions. You go, whoa, you can't ask that. Yeah, but why not? That might be a good question. You know, Matthew's thinking, yep, I've got someone there who's going to ask great questions. Matt, you're in my top right corner. So your hanging chair with the little one in your seat looks awesome. Now he's running away. Cool. But Ben, thank you.
Not a problem.
So the first time I realized the significance of this, like, not that I hadn't seen it before, but it was, I was in Ireland eons ago, long before I was taught in Ireland, and I was working with a New Zealand rugby player who was the fly half of Munster, and he had broken his forearm. And we happened to test him standing first. So we had a baseline of, wow, the wind would blow and he was gone. And yet this is someone who's a really good rugby player. And we switched on we ran the sequence, we did everything. And everything individually was perfect. It was, so as kicking in, said all kicked in beautifully, 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 except I could still push him over with one finger. And so Ben, exactly like your system, learned to guard and protect, because all the attention was on his break and all the medical intervention here and all of the fear. And we actually ended up having to, with him standing, doing a butt squeeze, digging into the tissue where the break was so that his brain could reconnect to it and go, oh, it's okay. I'm not going to die if somebody does something here. Hey, my arm's not going to fall off. Or, hey, this is my arm. There was a guy who was on Bookham in south of London. And he'd had major surgery in his abdominal area as a baby. And when it came up, he goes, whoa! And he's telling the story, and he goes, and I've got this, but nobody touches that, not even me. And how awesome was that? I got to be his first. Can you imagine how hard the body has to work for a lifetime to not let anybody touch a particular area in your system? How many strategies it's got to come up with, how many decisions it's got to make to not let you go here, not let you do this. You can't do this because that may happen. What about this? What about that? And so your entire life gets set up around this, and the longer you're in it, the deeper the pattern is, and the more almost proficient you become at protecting it. And so when we know this, and we know that we may really be accessing deep vulnerability and deep patterns in our clients, it's okay for them to go, whoa, back off. That's why we're a permission-based system. You check in with your client along the way, because sometimes we know if I just go a little deeper, this is going to be it. But maybe they're not ready. Maybe, and so, but if you're having those conversations and if you're guiding them along the way and almost meeting them through the whole journey, they will let you go there and they will go there together. So it's not you doing the work, it's a facilitated process. And suddenly you'll find those points where the whole system goes, and suddenly everything's different and everything changes. And so the beauty of a master point is, for all of us, it's different. And it doesn't mean that if I find that point, everything's done, tick, I've done my work. Well, now the coaching starts. Now we say, because of that point shutting down, what else has had to sacrifice itself, compensate, work upside down, doesn't know what it's doing, all in the system? And how do we make sure that those can all come in and support and make sure that the system is doing exactly what it needs to do, so that they can be stronger in themselves, feel what's coming up, and be able to stand in it and go, oh, wow, check at that. Because Ben, you brought up something like going, almost, God, I thought I dealt with that. Well, it's amazing, and I'm sure all of you have had this at some point. You're working with your client, and suddenly they have this feeling or emotion comes up, and they go, no, I went for counseling. I saw a psychologist for this for 2 damn years. I've done with this. Well, apparently not, because it's in your body. That's why you're bringing it up and talking about it. So all of these shutdowns and defenses are also ways that we hold on tight and make sure that those stories don't come out. You know, I think it's Brené Brown that talks about shame, silence, secrecy, and judgment. You know, and so if you go, oh crap, how many of those things have I learned to shy away from? So I'm going to hide this and hide that and put all the stuff away. Well, you have to put it somewhere. You know, Andrew, you're working with people, with young men who have a lot of stress and a lot of mental challenges. Watch this: silence, secrecy, judgment. But you create a strong enough space in their system for them to hold that, and then it's no longer a big issue. It's just something that's there, and that's all of us. And you kind of go, hang on, oh crap, there really is a whole lot more going on. Of course there is. We're human. We know there's ups and downs and lefts and rights and fronts and backs. And if we only approach one way, we're going to miss the show. You know, it's amazing what we can do. And it's amazing as a group, as a community, that when you start to just go, hey, I wonder if there's a better question to ask. And that's all you do. Let's say that's the takeaway for tonight. I wonder if there's a better question that I could ask, and see if that brings you better answers. And if it does, share it with us. You know, what was the better question to ask? And sometimes it's, what is the right way to say this to my client? And so I was talking to someone today who was like, well, I was working with an engineer. It was so difficult. Like, he needed to understand what we were doing. And I explained, it didn't work. And then I remembered you saying, if it's an engineer, speak engineer. So I thought of this complicated circuit, and I started talking about it. And when this goes off, and he goes, oh, wow, well, why didn't you just say that in the first place? And suddenly, in his language, he understands. And because he understands, he can now bring better information. And then better information, again, better questions, and then answers just seem to appear. So, has anyone got any thoughts, ideas, craziness to add into that? Just wave. And if you don't have your video on, you can't wave, so no waving. No, you see, you guys are scared. Wait, no waving, no. No waving? My goodness. No, Doug, you seem to be on form tonight. You're scary, so we're not going to wave at you, bugger. Bev, you're not waving, but I'm going to unmute you.
Hello. What do you want?
Hello.
Justin.
So, what is your takeaway from tonight? And I know you missed the beninging, but
Okay, so well, it is always about asking the right questions or getting the client on board with you. And I was thinking there just about one of the guys I was working with this week who was really difficult, super intelligent, and lots of information, spreadsheet, color-coded, all his injuries. He's a barrister too, so I have to be careful that I get everything right. And it took a while, but when he realized, like, he doesn't want me to touch any of his diaphragm at all. And so I'm not going to be able to move forward until we get him breathing. So the takeaway from that is that for him, that was the difficult one. And I did get through to him in the end. But yeah, I'm making a mess of this because there's so many questions that are coming up now and so many things I'm thinking with my clients that I just left, what I could have done already differently.
Well, how about can I reframe what you've brought? So, barrister.
The rain, so I was running from the rain to get here, and I was so.
Cool. That's perfect. So barrister, what is really important? Getting it right and contracting.
Yes.
Okay. So it's if you said, okay, so you want to do this work and you want to get to this place. Yes. Okay. In order for us to do that, I need to be able to do this with you. Oh, but I don't want you to do that. Yes, but you want to get there. This is how we get there. And so there is using his framework of business and as a barrister. And so this is for all of us, is it's finding a language that, because someone doesn't want to go there. Awesome. There's lots of people who don't want to go to places.
I knew I had him anyway, because he'd come to me 2 years ago, and he'd come to me and he told me that what I'd done made him feel better, but he didn't understand it. So now he's been 2 years down the road and he's worse, and he's come back to me. So I know ultimately, once I get this right, he's booked in for another 3 sessions. So
yeah, but that's it. But just understand that, like, it's just not. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is right. What I'm saying is just look at how you can reframe how you're working with someone, and then suddenly almost the motivation or their involvement or willingness to go to those uncomfortable places changes, because we are meeting them almost at their language and their way of doing life.
Well, I know from myself, like, there's been certain points in my body that I've held, and when they started to release, it wasn't pleasant, but I had to go there. And I think that's also not being afraid to help our clients go there as well, in the right context, in the right setting.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us here have had those moments of, yeah, we've had nice responses. Like my diaphragm release the first time was amazing. And then it's almost like you're waiting for another one. You're waiting, wow, I had that and I want another one of those. You're chasing it. And that's really wrong in a way, because you're always going to be disappointed. So again,
there's almost another, I'm almost not going to go down that track, because that's almost a whole nother conversation, like another webinar. Because it's such an awesome conversation, and almost like what you've seen as a facilitator for me is that, like, one of my scariest things is when someone comes in a workshop and they go, oh my God, you are going to change my life. You are all of this. And I promise you, I'm sitting there going, I'll edit this out now. I won't. Oh, fuck. Because someone who thinks that this moment is going to be everything, their expectation is so high that even 99% is still going to fall short. Where if someone starts on a workshop and goes, yeah, I'm here, I'm a skeptic. And if your client comes in as a skeptic, celebrate. Their expectation is so low that to meet it is easy peasy. And so understanding that sometimes when almost the first response comes so easily, it's almost a trap, because the next time, well, where's my next hit? You know, pa, 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 pa. That's cool. That is an interesting conversation. I'm ignoring James's message going, yay, another webinar. But
James is back.
Thanks, James. but this is the beauty of it. It's like, how boring would it be if everything was a straight line? You know, then people don't really need us. But right now we know the need is greater than ever before, and so there's that's a lot to take on, and I own that. Like, I've allowed myself along the way to kind of be going, dude, you're not doing enough. You've got to blah, blah, blah. And how much pressure I've put on myself, feeling like a burden of responsibility. But actually, you know what? How we do this is this. It's about having the conversations. It's about realizing that the obstacles we're up against, somebody else has probably got a different perspective. They may not have an answer for you, but they have a different perspective that can help you ask a better question. And then suddenly you go, oh, I know exactly what to do now. You know, and that's what's exciting. And that's the possibility of having the conversations, about having the community share with one another. So, yay. So I think then, goodness, look at that. 1 hour and 10 minutes. I can do it. I did set myself a goal. This is good. So are you guys good with the master points that, you know, there is no one true master? We are all, all of that stuff. Cool. Awesome. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. And yeah, and Ben, thank you. Thank you for being the catalyst that opened this up. And Luke, if you're going to be watching this, you're actually the catalyst of Ben, of this. So bless you too. And yeah, guys, have a wonderful evening, morning, whatever. You guys have to go to 3000 Stories, by the way, because there's some people in this room, in this Zoom, have some wonderful stories that inspire me and kind of make what we're doing and what I'm doing so valuable and beautiful. So thank you, Mr. Niels, Mr. Grant. I know there are others, but I owe Grant a published story because it's about 3 days in and I haven't got there. His client put something really cool up, but I'll get there. So yes, thanks everyone. Have a wonderful evening, morning, or whatever it is that you're doing. And we will chat soon. Au revoir.